Let me. Awesome. Sorry about that. Okay. Hello, everyone. I wish you a good day, a good afternoon, and a good evening. Welcome to the spUN Virtual High School Debate Tournament 2025 for June 7th. Judge Nicholas Florio will be giving us feedback and announcing the winner at the end of the debate. Judge, please sure to record your information in tab room as well. I don't know if you have an account, but if you don't, that's fine. We got it so that the teams can be advised about their next debate status. I am the moderator and facilitator for this 2025 spUN tournament room, and my name is Apurva, and Paul will be assisting today. I would like to read the following statement to you. The winning team is chosen based on their skill and effort and not on any preset NSS position. NSS clearly believes that humanity should continue to explore, develop, and settle space. However, NSS also believes that open, honest debate will facilitate that goal. It is important that space advocates understand and be able to express the anti space case. No statement made by any debater or coach is an official position of the NSS. Now, let's meet our debaters. The affirmative position today is held by Team Vanadium. Vanadium alloys are used in spacecraft components that need to withstand extreme temperatures and stresses. Vanadium's ability to enhance that strength and heat resistance of these alloys make it valuable for in-space manufacturing and construction. This team is coached by Eric M. Odo, who is a social studies teacher at Niles West High School in Skokie, Illinois. He has coached debate for schools within the district for the last 14 years. He holds 3 master's degrees, a Juris Doctor, and a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy and Political Science. He loves to travel the world and meet people from different cultures. This is his second year preparing students for the spUN debates. Team Vanadium, please give us your name and the country you're representing.
Hi, my name is Vlad and I'm representing Romania.
Hello, my name is Stephen and I'm representing Romania.
I'm sorry, the internet's like really bad. I can't hear anything. Sorry if I interrupted someone.
You're good. We were waiting for you to introduce yourself, so that's perfect.
Oh. I'm Lila and I represent the United States of America.
Awesome. Thank you, Vanadium. Next, we'll hear from Team Nickel. Metallic asteroids contain vast amounts of iron, potentially exceeding Earth's reserves. The possibility of extracting nickel and other valuable materials from asteroids is driving research and development in space mining technologies. This team is coached by Donald Broussard Jr. and who has been in the debate community since 1994 as a high school teacher and college competitor, as a debate coach and a consultant. He has coached throughout the US and globally in China, Canada, South Korea, and Taiwan, and he has coached many champions. He currently lives in Louisiana, USA. Team Nickel, please give us your name and the country you're representing.
Hi, I'm Doina and I'm representing Romania.
Hi, my name is Tanisha and I'm representing India.
Hi, my name is Sushant and I'm representing India.
Thank you, team. Now, if anyone has any questions during the duration, please raise your hand in your participant's icon on your screen. Please mute your mic unless you're speaking, and only the presenting team and judge, in this case, it's fine. Judge Florio should turn on their videos unless directed by the moderator. Our debating format today follows the same format as followed in the practice tournament and the prelims last week. All right, let's get started. The 2025 spUN High School resolution is an international body should establish a framework for the utilization of space minerals. We will hear from the first speaker from Team Vanadium representing the affirmative position. Team Vanadium, your first speaker may begin your affirmative intro. You have 4 minutes.
Okay, so do you hear me clearly before I begin?
Yes.
Perfect. So I will start in 3, 2, 1, and go. Before we start, I would like to thank the judge, moderator, and timekeeper for organizing this match, and also the opponent team for their presence here. Now that introductions are out of the way, let's make sure that we are all on the same page regarding the key terms in our motion. The first, clarifying these definitions is crucial to avoid any misunderstandings later in the debate. The first term is international body. By this, we refer to a non-aligned organization like the UN that is responsible for setting regulations and standards. This body would be neutral, acting in the interests of all nations rather than a specific country or group. The second term is space minerals. These are valuable substances that can be extracted from celestial bodies and used in economic or scientific activities. With that clarified, I would like to present our team's case. I'll begin by discussing the risks of future conflicts, then I will also describe the environmental side and present the implementation part. Then Stefan will further support our case, and finally Leila will summarize our case. Now, without regulations, spacefaring nations and private corporations might engage in these resource disputes, leading to tensions and potential conflicts. A structured framework to define property rights and establish mechanisms for equitable sharing. These conflicts can destroy the alliances we have built as humans, but this can also hinder our progress regarding space exploration. So, we are really shooting ourselves in the foot here. For example, the 1979 Moon Agreement, initiated by the UN, tried to establish space as, quote, common heritage of mankind, end quote. But unfortunately, this agreement was never widely adopted by any major spacefaring country like the US, Russia, or China. This lack of consensus already shows the fragility of cooperation when it comes to resource exploitation, and we must do something about it. Additionally, the Arctic territorial disputes, where countries like the US, Russia, and Canada claim overlapping regions for oil extraction, show how resource competition can escalate tensions. Without clear regulations, similar disputes could arise over space minerals in no time, potentially leading to conflicts between nations. But this kind of situation has happened countless times in also history, such as the scramble for Africa in the 19th century. So we can conclude that logic will dictate that our human nature will do it again and again and again, and we must do something about it. Even today, space is becoming increasingly crowded. The ESA has emphasized that space activities should be, quote, governed by cooperation rather than rivalry, end quote. With private companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Astrobotic racing to develop new technologies for resource extraction, or the absence of regulation is like building a highway without traffic laws. So it's only a matter of time before accidents or even worse happen. The Antarctic Treaty also serves as a successful example of how international cooperation can work to preserve common spaces for peaceful and scientific purposes. It reflects the idea of universalization, where governing shared domains is in the benefit of all. Lastly, as humans, our goal should not be to fight over new frontiers, but to work together, to explore and benefit together from resource extraction. We can conclude that establishing rules and regulations to an international body is a necessity. So I ask you, for the sake of our harmony, safety, and the future of space exploration, please vote for the motion to pass. Thank you.
Thank you, F1. We will now begin a 3-minute prep time for the NEG team to prepare a cross-ex. If the NEG team is ready to move on before the 3 minutes has elapsed, please indicate to me and we shall proceed. All right, your 3 minutes begin now. All right, teams. I would like to remind everyone once again, if your team is not speaking, please turn off your videos. Now we have speaker Neg 1 of Team Nickel. Please begin your 2-minute cross-X of F1.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for you. What happens if countries refuse to join that new framework that you would create? So how will you stop them?
The thing is that we want to create a international body for safety and ethical activities. For example, ICAO, which works in aviation, everybody agreed to it, and it worked pretty well regarding aviation safety. So we can do it again, for example.
But don't you think that current treaties like the OSCE and the Accords don't do that actually? So why would you like to create a new framework than actually to make these accords better?
Our goal as to create this, so the goal of this international body isn't to restrict any uh, and to block space development, but it's ensure that activities are done fairly, safely, and responsible. Not just to make it very public, the information, and to be accessible for all.
Okay. Another question related also to this international framework. If a country doesn't agree to the new international framework, do they still have to follow the rules? Because there would be endless countries that wouldn't like to agree to this international framework.
Yeah, but the most public reasons are for business purposes. But for example, like I said with ICAO, everybody agrees in the name of safety, and I think we can do it again, like I said.
Okay. Also, how can you promise that small
Thank you,
countries?
teams.
Oh,
That's your
okay.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, the Neg 1, you may begin your speech.
Okay, thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Doina, and as the first speaker of the negative team, I strongly oppose the resolution an international body should establish a framework for the utilization of space minerals. While we acknowledge the value of international cooperation, we believe that creating a new framework is unnecessarily redundant and would be nearly impossible to enforce fairly. In the first place, we already have international agreements that offer structure and support collaboration in space. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967, signed by more than 110 countries, lays the legal foundation for all space activities. It ensures peaceful use of space and explicitly prohibits nations from claiming sovereignty over celestial bodies, which helps prevent territorial disputes. Although it doesn't directly regulate space mining, it allows national laws and agreements to guide research use, meaning there is no legal barrier to space mineral utilization under existing frameworks. Building on that, the Artemis Accords, signed in 2020 by over 50 countries, take this cooperation further. These accords promote key principles such as transparency, sustainability, information sharing, and coordination in space missions. They also contain provisions related to resource utilization and dispute resolution, showing that spacefaring nations are already managing these issues voluntarily. This proves that a separate formal international body is simply not needed. Second, national laws are already regulating space mining effectively. For example, the US Commercial Space Launch Act of 2015 allows private companies to extract and own resources from space under US jurisdiction. Luxembourg Space Research Law from 2017 provides a similar legal foundation for commercial mining. These national laws have made it possible for companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin to innovate and invest in space without legal confusion. If we were to impose a global authority now, with new layers of regulation, it could disrupt progress, increase costs, and discourage private investment. Space development thrives on flexibility, not bureaucratic delay. Finally, fair enforcement of an international framework would be extremely difficult, if not impossible. Countries like the US, China, and Russia have vastly different political interests in space. and are unlikely to agree on universal rules. And even if a treaty were signed, there is no effective enforcement mechanism in outer space. Who would monitor compliance? There's no international space police. Enforcement will rely on self-reporting, which would only encourage dishonesty. More importantly, such a framework would likely result in unbalanced treatment. Powerful countries would easily justify breaking the rules under claims of scientific research or national security, and this directly violates the principle of universalization. The idea that rules should apply equally to all, a system that benefits the powerful while restricting the weak, cannot be called fair or truly international. A truly universal framework would be inclusive, enforceable, and applied equally in practice, not just in theory. If it cannot deliver real fairness, then it risks deepening global inequality rather than addressing it. In conclusion, establishing a new international body to regulate space minerals is not only unnecessary, it is risky, ineffective, and potentially harmful. We already have working agreements like the Outer Space Treaty and Artemis Accords. National laws are providing clarity, and innovation is moving forward. A new international framework would only create confusion, delay, and inequality. For all these reasons, we urge you to oppose the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have a cross-examination. AF1, please start your cross-ex of Neg1. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, so my first question. Let's say a developing nation tries to access space mining and it's blocked by wealthy actors. Should they have the right to retaliate militarily?
Can you repeat the last part of the question? Because I didn't.
Should they have the right to retaliate military to start a military operation?
So you're saying that if a developing country wants to take advantage of some space minerals, they should have military.
You didn't listen
I
to my
didn't.
question. Let me repeat it again. Let's say a developing nation tries to access space mining and it's blocked by wealthy actors. Should they have the right to retaliate militarily?
I can actually. I don't think I can hear you clearly. Can you repeat one more time?
No, this is not about. Let's take to the next question because I think you want to avoid it. For example, do you believe that outer space should have labor laws?
Um, but the so you mentioned that the OST wants to have labor laws, but if we refer, let's say, to OST, it doesn't it mentions that every country should collaborate, so there would be no labor. And referring to the new framework that you would want to create, yeah, there could be their labor regarding the fact that some countries may like to profit of other countries.
Okay. And my last question would be, if a common company permanently pollutes the moon or an asteroid or any other celestial body, who holds them accountable? Because there are no laws.
Yeah, the Artemis Accords and the OST doesn't actually refer and don't actually make that countries to be like, yeah, you have to pay for that. No, these countries have to like take notes to some let's say some to
Sorry to interrupt, but
to
your
take
time
notes
is
to
up.
some regulatory systems, but they aren't actually put to yeah to take part
Okay,
of
let's
them.
move on, please. AF2 of Vanadium. Now you can offer your second argument for the AF team. You have 4 minutes.
Okay, so I will start in 3, 2, 1, and go. Before we start, I would like to thank the judge, moderator, and timekeeper for organizing this match and also the opponent team for their presence here. Debate is an art in which we present facts and ideas, but it's also about questioning the assumptions made behind those facts. With this in mind, I would like to present some errors found in my colleague's speech. Firstly, they mentioned that the countries like the very powerful countries that go into space don't agree with certain topics like in general. But I stated clearly that ICAO is a convention that was agreed by everybody, which clearly contradicts this point. Um, and also they presented that Artemis Accords are enough. But I raised a very important question regarding who is to blame in case of the damage. But they recognize publicly that they aren't enough, which is clearly a logical contradiction. Now, I would like to continue. An international framework ensures that space research extraction is conducted sustainably and ethically. Mining in space, particularly on asteroids and the moon, could lead to environmental degradation, destruction of celestial bodies, and unattended consequences like space debris. An international framework would enforce responsible mining practices. A clear example of how international coordination can work is the ICAO, like I mentioned. It's a UN subsidiary agency that oversees international air traffic. IKEA ensures that every aircraft, regardless of the country it comes from, follows standardized rules for flight paths, safety, and environmental impact. Without ICAO, the skies would be chaotic, dangerous, and unfairly used. Just like airspace, outer space is a shared domain where different actors operate close together. If we recognize that the need for unified rules in the sky, why would we ignore that need into space? Just a question. Without such a framework, we could risk also worsening the Kessler syndrome, where unchecked space activity could result in so much debris that the entire orbits become unusable. This would hurt not only the actors involved, but all of humanity, closing off crucial zones for communication satellites, observation tools, and future exploration. Because we talked a lot about creating an international body, I would like to present in the next bit some solutions on what it can do and should do. We propose the creation of this body to monitor and regulate space mining. All entities, whether international or national or private, would be required to register and take an oath not to cause any harm to the space environment or any other entity. They would also need to submit regular reports detailing their past activities and future plans, backed by proof like data or images. If a company lies in its reports or fails to provide evidence, it would face heavy fines, restriction, or even be banned from further activity. In cases where serious damage to the environment or other entities is caused, such as over-extraction, pollution, or reckless behavior, strict punishments would follow. These might include suspension, international sanction, or legal action. The aim is not to block space development, but it's to ensure it's done fairly, safely, and responsibly for the benefit of all. Finally, if you care about protecting our environment on Earth and beyond, and if you believe in fairness, accountability, and a sustainable future for all humankind, then I urge you, please vote for the motion to pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Artu. Let's now hear a cross-examination from Nick 2. Team Nickel, you may begin. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. Now, before I start with my cross-ex, I would like to say to the judges that I think that we need to view this from a very realistic perspective. So, all of my questions are considering this realistic side of things. First of all, realistically, you keep talking about how you would monitor the data and make sure that each and every country involved is giving you proof and is giving you the right information. How, in any realistic sense, would you be able to monitor so many countries which would be involved in this international body? Now, my second question is, again, you keep talking about creating a unified space domain, making sure all countries work together. But again, realistically, we know that a hierarchy exists in this world. There are countries that are developed, there are countries that are developing, and countries that are underdeveloped. How can you assure us that this international body that you want to create, it is going to make sure that each and every country gets equal stance and equal right to speak? And my last question is, why in the world would any country want to join an international body where they are not going to be able to conduct proper space mining, and they won't get any free will, and they'll have so many restrictions on them. Why would countries want to join? You can't force them to. So why would they?
First of all, I think you lost all of my time of speaking, which is very unfair and against fair play in debate. And now I will answer all the questions. Firstly, like I mentioned, all the countries are, what I mentioned in ICAO, joined with free will, and they agreed to it, and everybody benefited. Secondly, smaller nations that would like to develop these new technologies uh, would be a lot aren't damaged by this international body, mostly because it refers to more how can I say, minor things regarding the operations.
I'm sorry to
And what
interrupt, but that's all the time we have. Thank you, teams. Now let's hear from Nick 2 from Team Nickel for your second argument. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone present here. We all know that mass destruction and pain that a war brings. Now imagine this war except with a twist. It happens in outer space. This was one of the biggest fears for space experts and engineers, which is why, as soon as innovation started being established, a simultaneous agreement focusing on securing and emphasizing the simultaneous creation and development of outer space was created. Now, let's switch the board. Imagine the utter chaos and contempt that would occur between countries if a new international body was established. Not only would it be futile, but it would also be extremely unrealistic. This is the reason why my team is against the creation of a new framework for the universalization of space mining. Another reason for this is that at first, the idea of setting up global rules for space mining sounds reasonable. But if we really think about it, it could just end up doing more harm than good. Too many regulations would just slow everything down. Getting licenses, waiting for approvals, dealing with legal hurdles. It would all make space mining way more expensive and way less appealing for private companies. We've all seen how this plays out in other industries. In aviation and finance, international rules have sometimes done more to hold things back than push them forward. If we go down the same path in space, we risk stifling the very innovation we need. And honestly, look at what's already happening. Companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are making huge strides without needing permission from global authority. They're moving fast, taking smart risks, and changing the game, all while making sure to be safe and to be fair in space. That's the kind of progress that happens when innovation isn't tangled in red tape. Also, let's be real. Getting every country to agree on one system, that's a long shot. Just look at climate change. Even after years of talks, big players like the USA and China still can't fully agree. If we can't align on saving Earth, how are we supposed to agree on mining asteroids? Instead of forcing one system on anyone, we should let countries and companies explore and compete. That's what sparks better ideas and keeps things moving. Space is a brand new frontier, and like any frontier, it needs room to grow. If we want real progress, we have to let innovation lead the way, not get stuck in global red tape. At the end of the day, this wouldn't be a system of cooperation. It would turn into constant arguments, power struggles, and delays. Instead of waiting around for everyone to agree, why not let individual countries or groups work together through national policies or smaller agreements? That way, things can actually move forward and progress won't be held hostage by politics. In today's day and age, it is integral to focus on what is actually required. This fast progressing world does not need our intellectual minds to be stuck on formulating new frameworks for the universalization of space mining, when in reality, what we need to do is actually take step forward on the playing field with regards to universalization, instead of spinning in circles around the same unrealistic and dispensable international framework. Thank you.
Thank you. Team Vanadium, please start your 2-minute cross-ex of Neck 2 of Team Nickel.
Okay, so in your speech you mentioned that the problems we have stated are real problems. Is that right? like the environmental damage and future conflicts?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're trying to ask. Yes, they are real problems.
Okay, that was the answer. If there are real problems, okay. So, do you have an alternative to our proposal if you don't agree to it because you say it's bad? Do you have a real alternative with a plan?
There is no requirement for an alternative. That is what my speech was emphasizing on. We already have agreements, we already have the OST, the Artemis Accord. We don't need something to add on to that. There's no requirement for an alternative.
Okay, but do you want to do something about these issues?
We don't need to do anything about it now because these accords and this treaty already covers those issues. It restricts the participant countries from committing any of these issues or giving a growth to them.
Okay, I think that's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Now we'll begin a 2-minute prep time for both teams to prepare their rebuttals. All right. Neck 3 from Team Nickel, please give your rebuttal in 4 minutes.
Hello, everyone. As the third speaker of the negative team, I'm here to respond to the points made by the affirmative side, defend our case, and clearly clarify the meaning of true universalization in space. Let's begin with what the affirmative team has said. Their main argument is that without a new international framework, there could be conflict over space minerals, especially between powerful nations like US, Russia, and Canada. They also mentioned that a new body could stop environmental damage, avoid problems like Kessler syndrome, and help smaller countries get fair access. But let's look closely. They say this new body would prevent conflict, but they give no real examples of space wars or fights over asteroids happening today. They only speak in what if scenarios. Right now, we have no space conflict because existing agreements like the Outer Space Treaty and Artemis Accords are already helping countries work together peacefully. Even the affirmative speaker admitted in cross-ex that if we made this better, they can replace a new framework. That is exactly our point. Why build something new when we can improve what already exists? Second, let's talk about regulation and private companies. They say companies like SpaceX must be controlled to avoid pollution or danger. But what they ignore is that national laws already regulate space activities. The US Commercial Space Launch Act and Luxembourg Space Resources Law already provide legal systems for space mining. These are real laws that protect both the public and the environment. Creating a global system would only add more rules, more paperwork, and more delay. As my teammate explained, innovation works best in a flexible system. Look at how fast companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are progressing, without needing a global body to approve every move. Overregulation would scare down investors and slow down development. Now let me defend our case clearly. We have shown that the Outer Space Treaty already gives a peaceful legal base. The Artemis Accords promote cooperation, transparency, and sustainability, even if they are voluntary. National laws are allowing real progress today without waiting for global approval. The affirmative side has failed to prove that a new international body would be better, faster, or fairer than what we already have. Finally, let's talk about universalization because this is where the affirmative team is the weakest. They say that a global framework will help smaller countries, but they give no details on how. Who gets to lead this international body? Who writes the rules? In real life, powerful nations often control these decisions, just like the United Nations or climate treaties. The richest and most powerful countries set the terms, while smaller countries just follow. True universalization means equal access and equal voice. In conclusion, the affirmative team wants to build something new, expensive and difficult, while we want to improve what's already working. Space is a new frontier, yes, but it's one that needs more smart cooperation, not more bureaucracy. For all these reasons, we strongly oppose the resolution.
Thank you. After 3, now you may begin your 4-minute rebuttal.
Hello, my name is Stephen, and I will be starting my rebuttal in 3, 2, 1. I would like to start with the fact that when asking cross-examination, our opponent admitted that war and environmental problems are a real issue that could come up, but then in the same cross-examination stated, and I quote, "We don't need to do anything about those issues. This seems unrealistic. If we universalize that logic, if every counter, every leader, every individual saw problems and decided we already have a foundation for them, they would keep coming. Things would destabilize fast, and our whole world would end up in a dystopia where thousands of years of progress and evolution and research are all thrown away for the sake of not changing things up, not adapting." Next up, I would like to say that continue with the fact that our opponent stated that getting every nation to agree on one system is unrealistic. Once again, quote unquote for this. But I would like to say we have political bodies such as the UN that exist and are able of making decisions and encouraging certain policies. And we also have economic bodies such as the ICAO, which regulates air traffic and air commerce, which is extremely effective and statistically has been shown to increase safety, to encourage trade, and to promote all things regarding the use of aeronautic spaces. Next up, I would like to lead with our opponents saying that there would be more harm than good done due to legal hurdles. But this seems rather unlikely. Space mining is of commercial interest, and time again, we have seen that commercial interest drives exactly the things we need: adaptability and efficiency, thus propelling our theoretical, I'll admit, international body only towards choices to help all parties achieve their goal, extraterrestrial excavation, and would have absolutely no reason at all to attempt to restrict them. Next up, I would like to mention how the treaties they exemplified with don't actually provide us with any guidelines or obligations to fix any damage a country may have done and to the space environment. They have no responsibility attached to it. And if they do something, there is nobody holding them accountable for it. That's why we do need an international body to make sure action is taken, to make sure they will face repercussions so that the same mistakes won't be repeated again. So that at money isn't put over safety. Next up, I would like to mention the fact how the opposing team said that some countries would profit of other countries. There is no reason for that to happen. The international body provides a framework for smaller countries to start their journey to excavate materials. They would be propelled by this. They would get their own shot, and they would have the support of those that came before them, not their spite. Next up, I would like to say that in the beginning, the enemy team mentioned how national laws have permitted development for private actors, but I just want to point out what happens if two countries have laws that contradict. Who gets the final say? Who makes the decision? What happens? Do they go to war? Do they enter a conflict that cannot be resolved? We don't have anything to prevent.
Thank you, F3. Your time is up.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we have a 2-minute prep time for both teams to prepare their summaries. You may begin now. All right, that's our time. Let's now hear from NEC4 for the 4-minute nickel summary.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of this debate, I want to make one thing clear. While the idea of international cooperation might sound ideal, the creation of a brand new global framework for space mineral utilization is not only necessary, it's not only unnecessary, it's also risky, unrealistic, and unfair. Let's start with what we already have. The OST, signed by over 110 countries, provides a strong legal foundation for all space activity. It ensures peaceful use of space and prevents countries from claiming parts of celestial bodies. It may not directly regulate mining, but it allows space activities to be governed through national laws and agreements. That's important because it means we are not operating in a legal vacuum. In fact, we have gone further. The Artemis Accords, signed by more than 50 nations, already promote principles like transparency, sustainability, and peaceful cooperation. They even touch on resource utilization and how disputes should be resolved. These are real agreements already in place, showing that countries can do collaborate without needing a centralized global authority. Our opposition has mentioned that a framework is fair, safe, and responsible, but it may seem so. But in reality, it would favor powerful nations, lack proper enforcement, and slow decision making. Small countries would suffer under biased tools, and delays could make space mining more dangerous, not safer. And I have to say that our opposition are quoting random things. Our team has never said anything about environmental issues not being important. The issues addressed by them are already addressed by Artemis and OST. They're interrupting the one that says the question instead of answering it. And I have to mention their aggressive body language. Now, let's talk about enforcement. This is where the idea completely falls apart. Who would enforce a global space mining law? There's no international police force in space. It will all rely on self-reporting, opening the door to honest, dishonesty, cheating, and selective transparency. Even worse, enforcement would never be fair. Powerful countries like the US, China, and Russia could break the rules and get away with it, citing reasons like scientific research or national security. Meanwhile, the smaller or developing countries would be held to higher standards, facing sanctions for even minor violations. This creates a two-tier system where the strong rule and the weak are silenced, a clear violation of the principle of universalization. And let's not forget the role of international politics. The same nation that struggled to agree on climate action will now be expected to unite over space mining. That's not just realistic. Countries like China and the US have already have competing ambition in space. A global framework would not only intensify political rivalry, it will slow down decision making. It will eventually lead to constant deadlock. In the end, it would be a diplomatic battlefield, not a cooperative body. So instead of building a system that causes delay, division, and inequality, let's improve and expand what's already working. Let's encourage voluntary agreements, bilateral partnerships, and national innovation. The approaches that are already moving, approaches are already moving space exploration today. Okay. To conclude, creating a new international body sounds good in theory, but in practice, it would be ineffective, unenforceable, and unfair. We don't need more red tape. We need real progress. For the sake of innovation, equality, and practicality, we urge you to oppose the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, we will hear from F4 from Vanadium for their 4-minute summary.
Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Thank you. I will begin in 3, 2, 1. As the final speech of our match, we would like to take back and weigh everything that has been said. We would again like to thank the judge, the moderator, the timekeeper, and their opposing team for their time today. On one side, we have our opponent's world. This is a world without clear and concise regulations. Disputes would cause numerous conflict, and the lack of a clear framework would directly lead to it. Even though we do not extract minerals in space right now, we certainly will in the near future. Asteroid mining companies already exist, such as Asteroid Mining Corporation. This issue is one that will affect us in the near future. Despite what they say, international frameworks can, in fact, catch up and will not hinder innovation. While national laws about space activities are a great first step, there must be an international standard of decorum and human rights. While space does have a less finite level of resources than the Earth does, the resources we are able to feasibly and commercially obtain are in fact finite. As we have seen time and time again, large nations often use military operations to keep developing nations from accessing resources. Who says they will not do this again? Making unlimited resources of space increasingly finite. The laws and accords they discuss are increasingly rigid, unlike an international body, which gives humanity the chance to learn and grow as we explore in space. They discuss frameworks causing confusion, but is it not more confusing to not have any international bodies or frameworks? National laws often cause conflict and are messy. They propose a world in which every nation and private company is acting with different laws, turning the final frontier into the Wild West. They discuss innovation, but does safety not take precedent? They mention risk, but aren't conflicting national laws inherently more risky and goes against the idea of safety that they argue? On the other side, we have our world. A world where space exploration and resource utilization is conducted under strict and clear regulations. While the Moon Agreement has not worked, it is a problem of implementation, which a framework would solve. With these regulations in place that are flexible, corporations and nations would not be hindered, but they would be given clear guidelines to use. All nations would be able to invest in space, even nations without the capabilities. Everyone gets their fair share. It is within this framework that universalization flourishes. International bodies such as these already exist, such as my teammate mentioned with the ICAO. Space treaties and national laws are a worthy jumping off point, but we cannot keep them, as we need clear frameworks that define boundaries and guidelines. And they argue for a framework in everything but the name. They argue for agreements, bodies, and frameworks for exactly the reasons that we do. A framework of capable and willing actors changes and grows as space does, but treaties and arguments, which they argue, stay stagnant, and we are all too familiar with that stagnation with current space laws. Our aim is not to block space exploration, nor to keep smaller actors from acting in space. But as ideal as this world sounds, it is not yet real, and if we allow space exploration to continue without proper oversight, we we risk stepping into a future defined not by progress, but by chaos, such as when the opposing team refused to let my teammate answer, asking all of their questions at once. This world is one where exploitation, pollution, and corporate greed shape the final frontier. Unlike what the opposing team says, we are not thinking too far ahead. So, in order to live long and prosper, we must effectively shape the future of resource utilization with a framework. So please vote for the motion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Judge Florio, would you like a couple of minutes before you offer your feedback in the winning team?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you. I'm still wrapping up comments and scores.
Thank you.
Alrighty, I have concluded my scoring and ready to give feedback.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, I just wanted to thank everyone who's involved. This was a really great showing from both teams. So everyone, you got to be proud of yourself because as someone in industry, I don't think there's a stronger arguments than what you guys have made today. So really appreciate the time and the passion. I could really see that in everyone's speeches today and cross exams and rebuttals. I just wanted to highlight a few comments that I made or heard throughout the performance for both teams. So first off, just with some sound bites that I thought were really good to consider for the future. Vlad said that you know it would be like building a highway without traffic laws. I thought that was very interesting and intuitive. Without a legal framework in place that is more effective. And then Doina pointed to using the treaties already in place as mechanisms for enforcement, something that is heavily emphasized in the industry already. Is why break or why make something new when it isn't broken. But there was also good kind of feedback then from Team Vanadium on identifying what was broken. Um, I have to say, Tanisha had lots of passion. I think honestly the most passion I've seen so far in these debates, which was really noteworthy. I think the connection of industry to policy was a strong suit for that, and then um, uh, moving on to Stefan, referencing that ICAO and its effectiveness. And then the comment that Stefan made, commercialization addresses the needs for the resource utilization successfully. I think that kind of played on to what Tanisha was saying a bit. So I think you were both agreeing there without knowing. But still amazing effort. And then finally the summaries. I think they were two very strong summaries. Basant, I really liked the not operating in a legal vacuum. And the reference to a two-tier system with a stronger ruling for those who are more powerful. I think that's something that I think both teams agreed to in the end. It was just more of how the current frameworks can work or how we can improve upon that. And so the ending summary by Lila, also a great job. Sort of addressing the two worlds. That was an interesting take for sure. And then kind of addressing the weakness in the Moon Treaty, so kind of addressing your own argument's weakness, and then saying how it can be improved upon. I think that was a great close as well. But overall, I think it was actually pretty tight between Vanadium and Team Nickel. And with that, legitimately by 1 point. So congratulations again to both teams. Team Vanadium takes home this victory today round.
Thank you, Judge. Please remain on Zoom after the debaters leave. I'd just like to add a couple of comments before we head out. Again, congratulations everyone for a wonderful debate. The final virtual debate of the spUN tournament is scheduled to be streamed into National Space Society's International Space Development Conference, the ISDC, it's a mouthful, in Orlando, Florida on Saturday, June 21st at 8:30 a.m. This debate will be streamed out on NSS YouTube and NSS Facebook. We hope you will join us there. You will see an announcement of the ISDC competing teams soon after the last debate round on Sunday, June 8th, which is tomorrow. Also, please mark your calendars for Saturday, July 12th, 8 a.m. Central Time for the spUN Program Awards event. We will be using the same Zoom link as today. Let me put that in the chat for everyone. There we go. And Yep, great. Excellent job, everyone. Thank you for participating in the 2025 spUN Debate Tournament. Judge, please stay in the breakout room after the debaters depart. And thank you, everyone.
Sorry to